here from TaylorMade, work out on the tour, servicing the game's greatest players. I know that you are serious about your games. That's why you're tuning into my channel. I'm going through my wedges. I'm looking at lie angles. I'm also looking at the rest of the set. There's a reason for it. Let's get into it. Something I talk about a lot. I don't want you to guess things that you can keep track of. Tour players have the shot link out on the PGA Tour where they can look at every club, they can look at how it goes, they can look at its performance. One of the things that I use is MyRoundPro. I'm going to put a screenshot up here now of how it works. It tracks your club performance and your own performance, but it can be taken and used against a PGA Tour pro or a scratch golfer or wherever your level is. If you're a 5 handicapper, you can measure yourself against a 5 handicapper. But the purpose I'm putting it into the video here, recently I made a lie change to my wedges, and I want you guys as players now to take responsibility here. I felt looking at, and you can filter MyRoundPro for a series of rounds of golf, and I felt I was missing my wedges left. I knew technically I was getting a little bit steep and I was pulling them, but you can cheat things. Your lie angle on a golf club is how the club goes through the turf. So it's the angle between the shaft and the sole of the golf club. So when you say, or when I say you can cheat things, I felt like if I was pulling it left, perhaps if I could get the toe of the golf club going into the turf first, I could bring the dispersion of my wedges slightly more to the right. It's a quick fix. I had access to a loft and lie machine, and I went ahead and tried to do it. But in recent weeks, had a golf lesson, swinging it a bit more efficiently. When you look at TrackMan numbers, my path is more efficient now. So the path when the golf club comes into the ball is not, as they call this, outside to in. It's more efficient, it's more neutral. We're always trying to keep on neutral. That is why we have alignment sticks down. I'll place a link in the bio of this video, in the description, as to how you use your alignment sticks. But when you line them up, you want them parallel left. Check out that link if you don't have one, very useful. I'm more efficient now. I'm swinging it more efficient. So we find ourselves here checking the lie angle of these wedges. When you do it, I want you to go through your full set. I want you to hit some full shots like I've already done before we got on here. 8 iron, 6 iron. I'm comfortable with the full set. And when you get into the clubs, and this might be in a dynamic fitting with an experiential rep, but get into these wedges and start, if you can, by hitting them off the turf. And check when you do hit them off the turf how that divot moves through and how the club moves through. So you've got your TrackMan. If you have access to it, you can look at your club path. You can see though, the divot is equal toe to heel. Even on a clean strike, I still brushed it, you can still see it. Path would have been good because it wasn't too steep, so I'm not angry at that. It's a good measurer, but if you want to feel it again, by all means get in there. Pitching wedge, great. Again, it's marked almost identical. Pretty good. Now I haven't moved these wedges yet because they are my wedges, and this is where I want to talk about it. I'd also like you to think about pitching, I'm going to go over to the right here, but a half shot and how you want it to go through the turf. And that's where I'm feeling the snag. You could see it there, the heel caught and the ball came out lower left. That's where I'm not liking the lie angle. That would mean that the lie angle is not quite, it's a bit too upright because the heel caught. Remember I said I made them flatter. When you make them flatter, you move the toe further away from your nose. So you shouldn't see that. So that might be a technique issue there. So try it again. Much better, much more connected. Ball came out higher. Acceptable. As a player, I'm doing this on every single shot. And as you guys go out and get into your fitting sessions for the new irons that are coming out at TaylorMade, and you look to get into the short irons, you need to think what each option does. You need to think what each iron does before you just go and get straight onto one of these things, which is a lie board, which no doubt you'll all see with your experiential reps. The idea is that you can mark the sole of your golf club with this. But before you just go in and get into that and see that, you need to think about, well, where do I want this to mark on the sole? Because if it's in the center, That's okay, but remember the club has dynamic droop. So when it comes down, dynamically the shaft is going to curve. That's also going to make this then affect the impact and the lie angle. So you actually want these marking slightly towards the heel. Plus, if you're hitting off turf, the ball will sit a fraction lower. When you bring in your lie board, which is why if it's a scenario like this where you can move the lie board, I always place it in the divots to try and get it to sit a little bit lower. And when you hit your full shot and you're looking to that marking, remember if it's a club you're going to hit full, this is a pitching wedge, you will put some pressure on that golf shaft. If you're getting down into the 56 and the 52 and the 60, if you carry that many wedges, you're not going to put as much speed into it, so you're not going to see as much droop. So it's acceptable to have the mark on the board more towards the heel because you won't see the droop, or more towards the center in that scenario because you won't put the pressure on the club down through the turf. Ball flight comes off a bit higher when you hit on here, but you can see the markings there clearly are towards the heel. I'll bring that closer to the camera so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But the markings are towards the heel side. So a full shot where it droops, it's acceptable based on the fact that that lie board is up a little bit. That's actually okay because the board is closer to my nose. So when removed, that will strike center. But all the while, and this is the point of the video, and this is the point of why I'm saying this, when you go out and have your fitting, think about each club. Think about each shot you play. Think about how much you use it on a softer. Are you comfortable with that strike? That again was a little bit diggy. Perhaps I do need to change this lie angle, but would I use this club for that, or would I reach for a more lofted club? Go through the experiments, certainly with your wedges. Don't just accept that someone gives you a 6-iron loft and lie test and that marries through the set. Quite often we'll see players play their wedges flatter, which is the scenario I found myself in. I've measured it off MyRoundPro. I've highlighted that there could be some issues because they are leaking a little to the right, but before changing it, I've come back to an environment where I test them again. You must take ownership of your own clubs. Lie angles can change all the time out on the tour. We check John Rahm, we check Dustin Johnson, we check Jason Day, Rory, everyone. Every week we'll check loft and lies on all clubs, wedges versus putters, to see if anything's moved. Because quite often we're guessing and we don't want to be there. We measure. And I think as amateurs, quite often we guess far too much. Try this drill. Try and get to your range, try and get a lie board if you can from the shop or wherever you have access to, put the tape on and be aware that a slight heel side strike is acceptable because that is raised up a little bit, and be prepared to overrule it yourself if you're not seeing the results that you want. Like I said at the top, I tried to cheat a slight swing change with my wedges to get through the last month or so. And it's done me okay, but now I want to check it again. If you like what you're seeing, which I believe you do because you're all coming back and I appreciate it, subscribe, follow, hit any notifications below. Every Tour Truck Tuesday, I bring out a new video. This one is about taking ownership of your lie angles and getting the best irons for you that stay that way through the off season and into the meat and bones of where your tournament season's going to come. Good luck.